Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Melanie Brooks, and on behalf of the Bloomfield Hills High School Counseling Department, I'd like to welcome you to College Application 101 for the class of 2024. Applying to college may seem overwhelming. However, we hope that tonight's presentation will provide students and families with a clearer understanding of the college application process. Please don't hesitate to contact your student's counselor with any follow-up questions following tonight's presentation. We are also taping the presentation this evening for future viewing, and it will be located on our high school website, the counseling page of the high school website, as well as the counseling Canvas page. Now, if you would take out your phones and feel free to scan the QR code on the screen so that you can have immediate access to tonight's slideshow presentation. At this time, I'd like to welcome Leah Abel from the class of 2024 All-Night Party Committee for some important information to share.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to College 101. I'm Leah Abel, one of next year's PTO co-presidents, along with Ray Nuzaretsky. Like all of you, I also have a student who is a junior. The Senior All-Night Party, ANP for short, is a decades-long tradition of providing a safe, secure, drug and alcohol-free celebration that keeps young adults off the roads on graduation night. Please do not plan graduation parties on the day or evening of commencement, as the ANP is designed to include the entire parade. As the slideshow says, it is the only party after graduation. Next year's all-night party will take place on the evening of June 2nd, which is commencement day. Students arrive to the high school at 8:30 to 9 p.m., and the event ends at 2 a.m. in the morning. The all-night party is actually not a PTO project. It's organized by senior parents. The high school and the PTO facilitates communications about the event. Also, the event theme is a secret, so if you are involved in the cleanup or the planning of the event, please do keep the event details quiet. Our class is actually seeking current junior parents to lead the event planning for next year. She mentioned that I'm on the committee. I'm not officially actually on the committee. I'm just here sort of as a PTO rep tonight. But if you are interested at all in the event planning for next year, please reach out with questions or contact the email that's up there. It says BHHSANP2023@gmail.com. That email goes to the current year's ANP party planners, and they have a lot of information on the event and how it gets planned. We are also seeking current junior parents to help out at this year's senior all-night party, because it's the tradition for the current junior parents to learn the ropes of the event so that they know how to do it for next year. By cleaning it up, we learn how to set it up for that party for our own children. You can scan the QR code that's on the slide up here to find the Sign Up Genius. This is also posted on our BHHS PTO Facebook page for this exact same link. You can sign up to be on the cleanup crew, which is from 12 to 1:30 a.m. Many hands make light work, so please sign up and bring a friend or two. Thank you in advance for your time and for volunteering. Bye.
Thank you, Leah. I'm just going to show again the QR code for those of you who are just arriving. If you want to take out your phone and scan this QR code, then you will have immediate access to tonight's slideshow presentation. At this time, I'd like to introduce the counseling department, starting with Mr. Brian Fitzgerald, who has the alphabet A through C. Jim Fogo, alphabet D through G. Laura Hollerer, alphabet H through K. Shayna Klein, L through O. Myself, Melanie Brooks, I have alphabet P through SI. And Mr. Tony Medea has alphabet S, J through Z. Our counseling office is located next to the College and Career Resource Center, referred to as the CRC. Our CRC coordinator is Mrs. Lou Anne France, and some of the information that's available to students in the CRC, students are able to sign up for college visits. We have many colleges that come and visit our high school starting in September, and they usually run all the way through November. Students are able to sign up for these college visits through Naviance, and we showed them how to do that when we had our junior EDPs back in November. You also can find information about ACT and SAT prep, AP test registration. Mrs. France also supports that. College reference materials, scholarship information is also generated through the CRC newsletter that comes out weekly, as well as scholarship information is posted on Naviance, our college planning tool. And then there's also information about summer enrichment opportunities that are located on Naviance, as well as in our CRC newsletter that again comes out every Friday. Before the school year ends, we encourage students to use information that we shared with them during our junior EDPs. They need to look at the colleges that they listed, that we asked them to formulate a list of at least 3 to 5 schools that they might consider applying to. And we ask that before they leave here in June, that they look at what the requirements are for those colleges. So some of those colleges will accept recommendation letters from teachers, some of them don't. But we ask them to be familiar with what is required of the school so that they can best prepare themselves to be on track to apply when we come back in the fall. We ask them to look to 1 or 2 academic teachers that would speak positively of them or positively about them and their character in our letter of recommendation. We ask that they have those conversations and try to secure those teachers before we leave for school in June, so that they know when they come back in the fall that those teachers are going to be able to write a letter for them. And some teachers like to write those letters over the summer, so the earlier that you secure that teacher to agree to write that letter for you, the better you are. How to request that teacher letter. Again, officially you'll request the teacher letter when we come back in the fall, and we'll go through those steps at our senior meeting. But there will be a process through Naviance again, which is our college planning tool, but you will not get that information until the fall. The process will be reviewed during the mandatory senior meeting. That's usually around the 2nd week of September. Counselor letters of recommendation. If a college does require a letter of recommendation from your counselor, it's required that the students submit a student and a family questionnaire. So these are important because we really put a lot of time and effort into the letters that we write for our students, and we want them to be representative of that student and to really give that college insight as to what that student can bring to their school. So the student and the parent questionnaires help us to do that. Sometimes the parents may include information in their questionnaire that the student may not have thought was important to share. So that's why we do encourage you to submit both of them, and that is what the counselor will use as the foundation for writing their letter of support. And now I will turn it over to Mr. Medea.
Thank you, Mrs. Brooks. So we have this little thing called NCAA initial eligibility. And basically what it is in addition to high school graduation requirements, the NCAA in Divisions 1 and 2 also require certain grades and certain core classes in certain areas. It's important that you understand that you need to get an account with the NCAA clearinghouse. They call it the Eligibility Center now. That's the old term from back in the day. We have a school code and SAT number, and they're both there. If you have the program on your phone, you can click on the NCAA Eligibility Center link, and that'll take you right to the website. And lastly, on this slide, it's important to know that as counselors, as academic counselors, we schedule our students for graduation, not for athletic eligibility. So it's really incumbent upon the family and the student to know which classes are eligible for the NCAA and which are not. Not every class that we teach is eligible as a core class. And probably the most important thing is you should know that we have a speaker that comes every year at college night from a Division I school that talks about more specifically, it's probably like an hour presentation just in and of itself, what those requirements are for each division. Division III, if you're admitted, then you meet eligibility standards. So in June, you'll be receiving a letter that talks about your graduation status, students, each academic discipline area, the credits you've attained, the credits that you still need, maybe there's specific titled classes that you need, and we use that for scheduling, and you're going to want to double check that. Also, by now, all students should have at least 3 to 5 colleges in their colleges they're thinking about list. This is part of the college research process that started this year as juniors, and we'd just like to have you start thinking about those different colleges. They're putting them on your list. You can add them or delete them as you see fit. There's a mobile app that goes with the, thank you. There's a mobile app that goes with Naviance, which is our whole college research software tool. And so I think this just advertises that. Mr. Fogel will talk more about it. In 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, the following things in a comprehensive fashion are what we as counselors commonly refer to as the educational development plan. And I think probably the best way to summarize it, parents, is it's planning and goal setting for the next steps in their young adult life. We call it an educational development plan or an EDP, and the thing that I think is really unique about the software that we use is that it links all of the different things that students start thinking about. What are my interests, my skills, my abilities, all the things that I know about myself as a young person, but also maybe some things that I'm still trying to figure out, and how those interests, skills, and abilities match up with colleges, careers, and college majors, almost working backwards. So it really gives our students the ability to see in a backwards fashion where my interest, skills, and abilities lies. Oh, people that think or feel like I do felt a lot of job satisfaction, and these are the degrees in higher educational programs, and it's not, we like to call it post-secondary educational opportunities that lead to those interest areas and those careers. Lastly, this is just a screenshot of the student view of Naviance, where they have their colleges I'm thinking about, and then we move them into the colleges that they would be applying to list. And again, Mr. Fogel will talk more about that when he's up. And Mrs. Klein, there you are next.
Okay, so Mr. Medea talked a little bit about June, end of the school year. The summer is actually a really good time for you guys to take advantage of a lot of different tasks that can be done while you don't have to worry about your classes in school and staying on top of things in your grades. This can be a major area of focus. One thing that you can consider doing over the summer are college visits. A lot of times it's hard to visit campuses during the school year if you have to miss class and all that kind of stuff. So the summer is a good opportunity. Campuses don't necessarily feel exactly the same because obviously, you know, students aren't really there living on campus or taking classes, but if that's a good time that works for you and your family, it's still worthwhile to go and have that visit. The questionnaire that Mrs. Brooks mentioned before is also linked here. That's something that we would encourage a lot of students to do even before you leave for the summer. but if not, to definitely do it over the summer. A lot of us will work on our letters over the course of the summer. We have a lot of students that we need to write letters for, and once school is underway, there's a lot going on. So if you're able to get us your questionnaires sooner or over the summer, it gives us an opportunity to work on those letters. For community service, there is a community service graduation requirement. As you all know, 3 services action experiences in order to graduate. At this point, all of you really should have at least 2. If you've done them and you haven't documented them, you should do that right away. If you've done the experience, there's no reason not to have logged on to or access the Google form to discuss what it is that you did. You'll be asked to write a reflection, how much time you spent, other, reflective types of comments about it. So that's something that you should definitely do. Your community service requirement must be completed by January of 2024. So that's after the first semester of your senior year. Please do not forget to do it, and do not make one of the 6 of us chase you, which some of us are still doing. So don't put yourself in that position. Don't jeopardize your graduation because you forgot to do something that you can easily get done. And then the resume. So one of the tools on Naviance is the resume. As we've done your EDPs with you annually, that is something that we've talked about, something that we've shown you, and something we've encouraged you guys to continue to build into. Working on your resume now will actually save you a significant amount of time when working on your college applications. Your resume is essentially an activities list of all the things that you've done throughout high school, and that's exactly what college applications are actually going to ask you for. So if you've already put that information together very neatly and nicely and organized in a resume, you'll actually thank yourself down the road. A lot of times students are like, I'm going to get my application done in the summer, I'm going to get it done early, I'm going to click submit August 5th, and I'm done. Please don't do that. Submitting an application over the summer does not benefit you in terms of admission. College representatives are not reading applications in August. Oftentimes they aren't even really starting until October. If you submit an application prematurely, you cannot get it back. Once it's gone, that's it. There's nothing you or your counselor can do to retrieve something that was sent. So don't send prematurely and then come back to school and get information that we share with you, or your schedule changes or something, and you can't undo that. So the earliest we'll be sending them is right after our senior meeting, which will probably be second week of school or so. So you'll begin working on your applications, just not submitting them. It's important that you have an appropriate email address. We have had students in the past use email addresses that they made in 8th grade or something, and it was a silly kind of name or maybe something inappropriate. That's a college's first view of you, their first impression of you, so you don't want that to be something that they see. A lot of students will create a brand new email account specifically for college applications and, contacts, all that kind of stuff. That's a really good idea and a nice way to stay organized, because we all know that your inboxes get flooded with emails all the time. So that's a suggestion. The applications for most of the colleges will come out July, or the Common App opens August 1st. Keep in mind, even though you could create a Common Application account now, and you could start to work on it, there are certain things that don't roll over. Over like the last week of July or so, they sort of regroup everything for the new application cycle. If you've done work that doesn't roll over, you're going to have to start over. So it's okay to wait till August 1st and wait till the new application opens up before you actually start working on it. Summer boot camp. And all these links on here, the purple ones, are all active links. We are hosting again, I think this is our 3rd or 4th summer of our college boot camp, and that's August 2nd, and we will have about a 3-hour workshop here at the high school. We'll do a session on Naviance, college applications. One of our English teachers does a workshop on essay writing. So that's something you do have to register for and sign up for in advance. The link is on here, and we'll send it out again to you guys as we get closer to the end of the school year. I mentioned the common application before. There are two types of applications, really, the common application and applications that are specific to certain universities. There are over 1,000 colleges that accept the common application, which basically means you fill out one application and then you just add whichever schools you want to apply to. We would still caution you, that doesn't mean that because you can add 15 schools that it's just left and right. I'm going to add all these schools because I've already done the application. It's easy. Add. Don't apply to a school just to apply to a school. This whole common application has created an influx and an increase in more and more students applying to more and more schools, which makes things more and more competitive when a lot of students might not even necessarily be interested in going to that school. So be thoughtful about where you're applying, why you're applying. Don't just add schools arbitrarily because it sounds like it's a good name or your best friend's applying or something like that. Common App also has a mobile app, which makes it easy and accessible on your phone too, which is nice, but I would strongly discourage you from working on a college application on your phone. College or university-specific applications are only directly to that particular college, accessed through that college's website, only for that particular university. So some schools offer both, which this slide kind of mentions. There's couple on here, where it gives you the choice to use an application specific to the university or the Common App. Colleges don't have a preference. Whichever one you want is up to you. But these are all the schools in the state of Michigan that utilize the Common App. The bolded ones are the public universities in the state. So just a resource, but if you went to the Common App and searched member colleges, you would find a laundry list of schools. Okay, so college essays. This might be a good moment to talk about artificial intelligence and ChatGPT and how that's often now we've seen, unfortunately, misused in education. And that is going to happen with college applications when you're writing an essay if you're using ChatGPT. You have a lot on the line when it comes to your college admissions. And because you didn't feel like putting in the effort or spending the time and wanted to take a shortcut, and then a college rep sees right through that, you're immediately not going to be offered admission. It's not worth it, and you are creating opportunities for yourself. And what we've seen with some of the classroom situations here in school for students who are trying to do shortcuts or copy information from something, you end up doing yourself a significant disservice, and that's just in one isolated incident of a classroom. This is much higher stakes. So don't do that to yourself. You can completely demolish opportunities that are at your fingertips. So we would strongly discourage you. Colleges have said they can see through that, not necessarily because it sounds like a computer, but because it's completely impersonal. The whole point of a college essay is to really share your story. So a computer can't really share your truth, or at least couldn't do it in an honest way with some integrity. So please, all of us will say, do not use ChatGPT for your college essays. Myths. A lot of people think, it has to sound sophisticated and mature and has to have all this fancy vocabulary. It's not a sophistication that they're looking for, it's what your story is. People often think, I have to have overcome some obstacle, this horrible thing has to have happened in my life to show resiliency. If something hasn't happened that's an adverse situation you had to overcome, don't make one up. They'll see through that. We've heard kids this year say, there's no way the college reps read all of those essays. They responded too fast, or they admitted kids who shouldn't have been. They didn't read them. It's not true. If they're asking for the essays, they are reading each and every essay. They know if you get too much help. They know if too many people have read your essay, because you have all these different opinions and feedback coming from different people with different perspectives, and then the essay can kind of fall apart and lose its message. So that's oftentimes something they can see through, and there's not a formula. There's not something specific that they want to see. They really want to see you. So think about an interview on paper and all the things that a college or a person, anyone, would want to know about you but can't see by looking at a transcript or a list of activities or something like that. This is your opportunity to tell your story and to kind of give that narrative and personal view into who you are. Understanding the prompt is important. There's a bunch of different prompts you can choose from. Answer the question. Answer the prompt. That's another problem that we often see when college reps are confused. What was the student, what was their agenda, what were they trying to achieve when your essay is completely unrelated to what they've asked. Have someone review your work, but not too many. Like I said, it can create all these different, conflicts between what one person would recommend versus another. So take time with your essay. That's a big differentiator now when a lot of kids are applying to so many schools. Okay, Mr. Fogel.
Good evening. So, test optional. Well, what do you know? Perfect. So, test optional, while this is rebooting, test optional is a new term, relatively speaking, for college admissions. What we're referring to is the standardized test of really yesteryear of the SAT and ACT, which have been traditionally required at most universities across the country. Certainly U of M and MSU always was a mainstay. You submitted the application and the standardized test. However, the pandemic changed things across the state as well as nationally. Many schools have moved to a permanent test optional state, which is meaning students are welcome to apply to U of M and MSU along with many other in-state and out-of-state schools without submitting an SAT or ACT score. And these schools will review the application holistically without penalty holding against not having a score. So it just behooves the students to really pay attention and monitor the application requirements at each school. And it seems to be changing year to year. Several of us were recently at a professional development session with many East Coast schools, and they introduced some other terms to us, which are test flexible or test blind. These are all different policies that universities have regarding the ACT and or SAT score. So it's important that the student maintains the latest and greatest information on what that school requires. And one resource that really lists every known test optional school in the country is called the Fair Test. And Fair Test has their own website that they maintain. The number is over 1,000 schools now that simply do not require the standardized score. And this purple link does bring you right to the website where you can search by state for the different colleges that are on this list. But we do really highly advise students to always check the university's own website for their latest update on their test optional policy. So really, what should be done in the student's Naviance account next? So over the course of this summer, which very happy to say we're very close to starting, the student does have an assignment to really be concentrating and making some tough decisions, going from that original list that Mr. Medea referenced of colleges that you're thinking about, now to colleges that you have already thought about and you are committing to applying to. So between June, July, and August, that should be done in the Naviance student account by simply shifting the schools, carrying them over, if you will, from the colleges I'm thinking about list to the colleges I'm applying to list. That will trigger the high school counseling office to prepare the documents and get them ready to be sent in this new school year right away to those colleges that you've requested them to be sent to in early fall. So this is how you go about that process, and we've worked with the students already on selecting colleges that I'm thinking about during their junior year EDP that was referenced earlier. So this summer, students should go through that college I'm thinking about list by selecting on the left-hand side of the screen there the checkbox next to the colleges that they are no longer thinking about. They've thought about it, and now it's going to be a time to commit to apply to these schools. By checking that box next to each university or college that they will be applying to, clicking the center box up at the top that says Move Application List. Then the next screen will pop up college by college, asking some specific questions about the colleges that they just selected that they were going to be moving from the thinking about list to the applying list. Two of the questions will be the application deadline that the student is selecting, and many universities have multiple application deadlines, whether it's regular decision or early action or early decision or rolling. And those application types will be advertised by the university on their website what they offer. Not every school offers every application type. So a little research will show exactly what's being offered, and the student, along with the parent, and we welcome our, to be part of that conversation, will make a decision what's best for them on which deadline to apply to. And then the next question is important. What application method will the student be applying to that school with? And schools can offer their own application or the use of the common application. As we saw on the previous screen, some schools make that decision for you by only offering one or the other application type. Other schools will offer both options. We need to know which option you've selected so that we send your high school documents, the transcript, the letters of recommendation, the senior year schedule, the high school profile. All those documents need to go directly to the university that you are applying to, but we need to send it via the right method. And the Common App has its own avenue to the college, and the college specific application has their own method. So simply by indicating which college method you're applying to for each school will help us help you apply to that school well before their deadline. So after you've transferred those colleges over one by answering those two questions, the colleges will now appear on a new list. This is entitled Colleges I'm Applying to. So this is the list that should be finalized when we start back in school on September 5th. So that's your homework assignment, students. Class of 24. You're going to convert your thinking about list to your applying list on Naviance over the summer. Hit the ground running in September with a solid list. You can see this student sample here has 5 schools that they have thought about, researched, discussed with their families, and committing to applying to these schools. And they've moved them over successfully to their active application list. So please have this done so that you're not behind the 8 ball trying to catch up in September. Have this done when we walk back in school in September. Mrs. Hollier will take over next.
Thanks, Mr. Fogel. So application deadlines. Mr. Fogel referenced some of this in with the Naviance that you're gonna, when you're filling it out. So you just need to make sure that when you're putting it in Naviance that you are putting in the right decision that fits who you are, right? So when we're talking about regular decision, that's just has a definite date, right? And you're going to get your application in by that date. The most important thing is when I say deadlines, right? In school, for some reason, it's like a moving target. With the college application process, there's no room for missing their deadline. They don't care. If you miss their deadline, they move on, because guess what? There's hundreds and thousands behind you that they will get in on their campus who turned it in on time, right? Don't miss the deadline. We had a student this year, they hit submit, so if the college says November 1, do not hit submit October 31st. It will not get there. And you'll say, but I hit submit. They don't care. It didn't get there. It went to cyberspace. It still takes time to get to them. Never wait one day before something is due. That's late, okay? Keep that in mind. This is your future. It's your application. These are things that you want for yourself. Make it as important to you as it will be to the college for them accepting you. So please watch the deadlines. It's really important. You can cry, you can call, you can offer them money. They are not going to budge, right? It's important. A rolling admission kind of goes along with a regular decision. Rolling just means that a college is admitting you throughout the process, right? Like a Central. If you submitted your application in September, they'll have a deadline, but they will roll out decisions all along the way up until their deadline date. Not all schools do that. Like early action, U of M, for example, you can submit by November 1, and you will get an admission decision or a deferral at a certain date, but you have to have it in at that point. You can still apply to U of M for regular decision and not submit by November 1. So you're still in the application process of their deadline, you just have to get it in by their deadline. There's an early decision, so that means you're picking a school that this is a school that you would go to, right? Early decision is a binding decision, means if you get in, it's your top choice, you will go there. This is, early decision is something that you need to speak to your counselor about, because in Naviance, we actually have to submit a document on your behalf that you have had a conversation with us, because you can only select one school. So it's important to let your counselor know really what you are doing, especially if it's an early decision school. And restrictive early action, those are rare opportunities, but they are non-binding, and those are something that you can research in terms of, does that fit what you're trying to do in this process? Because as we all know, this is a process that you play with the colleges, so there's a game with that. You will have a deposit deadline, so you don't want to miss that, and we would recommend that you get your deposit in once you've made your decision. And then May 1 is usually their deadline for money, so if you miss that, which I think, didn't we have that happen with someone this year? Someone missed the May 1 deadline, and guess what? They're not going. The college said, too bad, so sad, we're not letting you in. It happens, so take it seriously. The fall application process, we will, as we've said a couple times tonight, we'll have a senior meeting in September. We will review your transcript. It is important that you look at your transcript, and we'll say this over and over again. We can't catch every error on there. It's your job to really take a look at it before we hit submit. So make sure that you take the time to do that. You have to start with the teacher if there's a grade issue, because counseling does not change grades. Teachers do. So please make sure that you get in touch with the teacher so you can get the error fixed if there is one. We will go over the process for requesting a transcript. We'll go over that. You're never going to remember that tonight, but we will go over that in detail and walk you through that. And you will also be able to invite your teacher in as the recommender through Naviance. So you won't have to worry about that yet, but as one of my colleagues said, you should start thinking about what teachers and maybe ask them before the school year ends. For your first transcript request, you're going to submit a request through Naviance, which we'll go over with you. If you're using the Common App, again, we'll go over this, but you're going to match your Common App and your Naviance. These are two important steps. So you don't have to worry about that now. We'll go over it in September. We'll help you with that. Some students do figure that out, but we're happy to help you. You're not behind if we wait till September. Your parent questionnaire and student questionnaire, I think Ms. Klein mentioned that. The one thing I will tell you is, if you're going to be a minimalist in filling the form out, you're going to get a minimalist letter of recommendation from your counselor. Those forms are critical for us. We have 70, 80 seniors to write letters for, potentially. If you don't help us with information about you, we're going to struggle with an excellent letter, right? So take your time, parents as well. Put some effort into this. And as Ms. Klein said, you can try to get it done before we leave so that we have access to that, if we have time to write those before we return. But those are really important. I had a student this year who literally showed me his admission acceptance from a college that referenced my letter of recommendation. So he took the time to fill out that information. He got a really good letter, and they referenced things that I put in that letter because he gave me that information. So it's really important. Your essay can be helpful, so if you've taken the time to write your essays and you want to share it with your counselor, the more information we have about you, the more we learn about you, the better the letter that we can write for you. Also, you can, over the summer and in the fall, right at the beginning, send your test scores. If you're choosing to send a score to a college, those are things that you can get done over the summer and right beginning when we return. What we would say is after you submit, relax, take a deep breath. It's out of your hands, right? You did your job. You've done what you can do. Don't catch senioritis, and boy, do we have a lot of that around here this year. It's pretty scary. So stay away from that. Check the status of your applications on the college portal. We can't see your portals. We don't know what's going on. So you can say to me, well, they don't have my transcript. You're going to have to call them because we sent it if you submitted a request. We will certainly help you if we can, but it's best to try to call the admissions office and find out what happened. Be patient. It takes a few weeks for your application status to be updated. Keep in mind, junior year gets you in, senior year keeps you in. I'm worried about these seniors this year. As soon as you've made a decision on which school you want to attend, send your deposit in, right? Get your money in. If you're kind of playing with more than one school, you can, most deposits are refundable because, getting your money in can secure your housing, so that's important. Inform the schools that you are not going to attend, that you're declining and you're attending elsewhere so that you can free up spaces for other students who had been deferred in the process. And then you're going to enter all the decisions into Naviance for the schools that you are attending and whatever those acceptance were for all the other schools that you may have applied to. I am going to turn it over to Mr. Fitz.
Thank you. All right, I'm finishing it up here. So a lot of the things I'm going to speak about, you've already heard from these guys sitting right here. And let me just tell you, 100 plus years of college applications sitting over there. They've been doing this for a long time. They're really good at it. I've been here for 4 years. Anytime I have a question, you can ask any one of them. I don't have a problem interrupting them with whatever they're doing, walking into their office and asking a question. But these guys know what they're doing, and the guidance that's provided for the kids at this school is not like the same guidance that happens at other schools in this area. And I can speak to that because I've had kids that have gone to school in this area, but not at this building. And they didn't have this. They didn't have a College 101. They didn't have the senior meeting. They didn't have boot camps. They didn't have access like kids have access to this. So kudos to these guys. They know what they're doing. I know you guys are probably very anxious about it. Students are anxious, and that's normal. But right now, really the things to do are the things we've been speaking about. Sign up for College Boot Camp. It's October 2nd, if you're able to. It's not mandatory. Can you still apply to school without doing College Boot Camp? Of course you can. But College Boot Camp is a nice thing because it's kind of like that community. Everybody comes in, even though your son or daughter may be saying, I know, you don't have to tell me, don't worry, you don't understand, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. If they come to this boot camp, they're here with all the other kids, and guess what? They get started on it because everybody's doing it at that time. So sign up for it if you can. The college night, we just got that in today. It is going to be October 16th. I'm not sure if you've attended those yet, but those are usually down by the gym, where all the colleges set up at their card tables and they've got their banners, and you can walk up and get firsthand information from hundreds of the colleges that come here. And some of the larger colleges won't be in the gym, but they'll be in the classrooms, like Michigan, Michigan State. They'll have actually presentations for that night to get firsthand information. The financial aid night, again, is coming up in September, on September 12th. We've got a woman from Oakland University that comes here and walks you through, and she's excellent. She talks exactly about what you need to do to have things together for when you fill out the FAFSA. The virtual tours and campus visits, this summer, if you have a chance, go to the college website, find out where you can set up the tours. They will give you, on these days, at these times, you can register. You'll go there, you'll meet an admissions officer, they'll speak to you in a small auditorium, oftentimes like this, and then they maybe put you together with some of their tour guides that will walk you around campus and answer smaller questions. I think that's right here, college rep visits during school. The college rep visits are really nice. In Naviance, when the kids come back, we'll go into Naviance and they'll see. So we have a ton of college admissions people that will come here throughout the fall, starting in September, mid-September, end of September. Every day, 2 or 3 of them will come. And the kids can literally sign up, click a few buttons, we will get them a pass, they will leave class, they will come down, and they'll be in a small group, just hearing from that admissions person. Sometimes it's like 2 kids and that college admissions person. So they can really get really good information and ask really pointed questions and get direct answers to their questions. That's a really huge thing. I think everybody should take advantage of that. Scholarships, I'll talk about scholarships in another slide or two, but there are scholarships out there. There's lots of them. There's thousands of them. There's tens of thousands of them. And kids will come to us all the time and say, help me find a scholarship. We can't help you find the scholarship. We can help you with where to go look for the scholarships and maybe talk with you and ask you some questions about who you are and what things you might be able to be applicable for. But there's tons of scholarships out there. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then that services action, the 3 services actions, don't be a senior. We're still hunting down kids right now saying, you still need to do 2 services actions. Well, I already did them, but you didn't log them, you didn't register them. You're not going to get to the graduation ceremony, you're not going to do the commencement, you got to do that. Okay, so sign up for college rep visits. Okay, this is in Naviance. Naviance will become your future senior's best friend. We've been using it since 9th grade. Then they use it again in 10th grade and they forget what it was in 9th grade. By the time they're seniors, by the time they're in this college hunt, they will have it saved and flagged as one of their favorites on their computer. Naviance does a ton of things, from all the application pieces that Mr. Fogel was speaking about, as well as setting up those visits. So you're going to look, you'll see which colleges are coming to our school. If any of them look interesting to you, you'll check the date. You'll click, I want to be invited to that, and we'll get you a pass, and you'll come down for 40 minutes and meet that admissions person and get really good information from it. Email and Naviance. Check your email. I think kids are better at that now than they were a few years ago, but there's still some students that don't look at their email that often. That's how we communicate to you. That's how we push information to you. We use your Bloomfield email account for the students, and you have to be on it. You've got to be checking it regularly. Checking your Naviance account regularly to see, has my stuff been sent? Is it still sort of sitting in like the waiting pool? Because once you say submit, then it triggers us to do our thing. And at the beginning of the year, we have 100 kids asking for things at the same time. So we do have like a 10-minute grace period. So when you say send it, it doesn't get sent that second. 10 days. 10 days, that's what I'm saying. There's a 10-day grace period. Give us 10 days to then say, okay, Jim wants his stuff sent. Now I got to where's my recommendation letter for Jim? Well, Jim, have you done your student questionnaire yet? Of course you haven't. Well, how am I supposed to write your recommendation letter? You haven't given me the recommendation letter. So these are the things that have to happen in those 10 days. So again, do those questionnaires this summer if you can, right? Did this one. Scholarships, like I said, there's thousands and thousands of them. We will push information out through our newsletter, on Naviance, on our Canvas counseling site, through the counseling link on our website. Bottom line is there's certain scholarships that are merit-based, which you qualify for automatically based on something you've done or shown. It might be a test score, it might be a PSAT score, it might be something that you've done in the past, and you automatically are going to get it, and you can take that merit-based scholarship wherever you want to go. Michigan, Oakland University, Wayne, you can take it. There's scholarships that maybe you have to go out and apply for, and you go, okay, how do I know? Well, if you're 6'6" and you did AP Calcs and you did an AP exam and you got to go, I don't know, maybe there's a tall person scholarship for having really good grades. I could apply for that, I could get a couple $100 maybe, and I could take that wherever I go. Scholarships with places your parents work or grandparents, okay? Your parents or your family may have a job somewhere where you can get a scholarship based on where your family works. True. And there's some links right here for places to find more information about scholarships, and you can filter them through FastCam or FastWeb and KeyPEX. Resources, okay, Common App Ready, these are all here. You can look through them to find information to maybe help you with some of your application. And I think I'm getting the hook from my colleagues over here. But Mrs. Hollier has a fun game to play.
So just real quick, can I have my 3 students up here, please? Yeah.
Just a quick Canvas plug really quickly. I know students and parents get like a boatload of Canvas emails. If you can see an email from your counseling class of 2024, please stop and look at those. We really don't inundate with a ton of stuff. If you're getting an email from class of 2024, it could be a scholarship, a summer opportunity, something related to the college application process. So I know it's easy to kind of glaze over them because there are so many, but ours are not frequent. So if we have something, please take a pause and look at it.
We have one last fun activity to wrap up the evening with, so sit back and enjoy the show.
Okay. Going down there, guys.
Stand up based on our GPA.
Yeah, you can. So this is just a little bit tongue-in-cheek, like how the process works. This game we actually got from the National Counseling Conference that we usually go to, but won't be next year. So the reps put this together, and these are people who do the application process, read your application, so they kind of put this game together. And it's kind of a little funny just to watch, but there's a lot of truth to some of the statements in here. So we'll see who is last person standing here. If you have taken an exceptionally strong academic program, move up 2 spaces. If you direct the gospel choir at your church, move up 1 space. If you embellished your activities on your application to look better, move down 1 space. Because they do check these things, right? They do have people who check your applications. If you're a highly ranked harpist, move up 1 space. That's a unique activity. You made an early decision commitment to your first choice college, move up 1 space. If your rank is in the 2nd decile and you are applying to a very selective school, move down 1 space. If you are a legacy at the college you are applying to, move up one space. Legacy does matter. You have listed the college, had an alumni interview, and filled out the questionnaires on the college website. Move up one space. Those are all important. If you are willing to go to college outside of your region, move up one space. If you did not write the optional college essay, move down one space. Optional is always do it. If you baked pies and delivered them to the admission office trying to say you're not an athlete but a great baker, take 2 steps back. But they ate your pies. And that actually happened to our U of M rep, sort of that way. It was not a good thing. If the topic of your college essay was sports as a metaphor for life, move down one space. Your teacher's recommendation said, he or she is one of the best students I've ever taught. Move up one space. Teacher letters matter. If you will be the first in your family to attend college, move up 2 spaces. If you dug latrines in Africa in the summer program between your junior and senior year only, move down one space. If you are an international student, you applied to all public Ivies, move up 2 spaces. You are applying to an out-of-state public university, move up one space. They like your money. If you are an Eagle Scout, move up 2 spaces. They love the Eagle Scouts. If you are a female athlete going to a D1 rowing school, never rowed before, but you scored great on their ergometer test, move up 2 spaces. Rowing is a good thing. Your essay speaks to how you love to bake bread. The admission officer who was reading the essay happened to have French bread baking in the oven at the time of reading the application. Move up 2 spaces. We did actually have a rep tell us that story because they were hungry and it looked good. Your application looked even better. You have a non-flattering video of your high school post-prom party posted on TikTok under your name. Move down 2 spaces. You love to play Rubik's Cube. You formed a club, had a competition, collected donations, got sponsors, used the club to raise money and awareness for a worthy cause. Move up 2 spaces. You took a passion and you did a whole lot of things with it. If you come from a single-parent household and must work part-time to help out, move up 2 spaces. If you have a bulldozer parent, you know who you are, move down 2 spaces. Parents, stay away from the college reps. To the admissions office, your essay sounds like it was written by people who were prematurely middle-aged. You are out. If you applied early decision or single choice early action to more than one college, you are out. Your teacher wrote, he or she is not just an athlete, there's so much less here than meets the eye. Over time, he or she has developed a set of friends who have learned to tolerate and even accept him or her. You are out. Don't ask that teacher for a letter. If you have used ChatGPT to write your essay and the college has determined that it was written by an AI, you are out. And guess what? You won't even know you were out for that. So keep that in mind. You're not going to know if you did that. They're not going to tell you, we caught you. They're just not going to admit you. If your counselor has to explain the reason for discipline given at a school, you are out. You failed to meet the academic standards you are including rigor, GPA, and test scores. You are out. If, when you wrote your college essay, you forgot to change the name of the college you were applying to, happened this year, student didn't get in, you are out. The college library is named after your grandfather, who is an active alumni in alumni relations. Move all the way to the front of the line and stay there. So you see how this whole thing can go. And I'll leave you with this. College doesn't define you, college shapes you. College takes the high school you and it molds it into a grown-up you. But the key component there is you. Your ideas, your work, your voice. You bring all those things to college and college helps you figure out what to do with them. The buildings don't have to be covered in ivy. The alums don't have to include former presidents. The name doesn't have to impress your family or your high school classmates. I say this all not to downplay the achievements of kids who are heading to the Ivy Leagues. That's a phenomenal accomplishment worthy of much celebration. But it's not the only way. It's not the only path to success. It's certainly not the only path to happiness. You can find happiness and success, not to mention brilliance and inspiration and lifelong friends and mind-blowing authors and really good art and really bad coffee on thousands of college campuses. The key ingredient is you, what you bring, who you are when you get there, who you are and when you leave. You matter most in this equation. Keep in mind, it's not where you go, it's what you do when you're there. So remember, rely on your counselors, ask questions, see us. We are here to help you. Have a good night. Thanks for coming.